Now let us look at the files and folder structure in typical Next.js 13 application. So once you create the Next.js application, here are the files and folders that are created. So let us start from the bottom. So first file is tsconfig.json. So this file contains all the configuration related to the TypeScript. Some important settings over here are include and exclude. So basically here we are telling TypeScript which files to include for the compilation. So basically TypeScript is gonna look and take these files and then compile them. It will exclude the files that are in the node models because we don't want to type check those files. We want to just type check the files that we have created in our project. And similarly, there is a lot of other settings related to the TypeScript. I will not go into each and every setting, but you can remember that these settings are related to the TypeScript. Next one is tailwind config.js. So in case you are using the tailwind, then only this particular file will be created. And here we can have the configuration related to the tailwind CSS. The next one is readme.md. So this is again one of the file that is created by the Next.js, which gives some information about how you can execute the project, like if you want to launch the application and how you can deploy the application. So they're given these instructions over there. The next file is postcss.config.js. So postcss.config.js, this file is basically is used for the post-CSS configuration. Post-CSS is a utility that is used to process the CSS files. And here we can give the specific plugins. For example, since we are using the Tailwind CSS, we are telling the post CSS that okay, we will have the Tailwind CSS files and you have to process those files. And similarly, we are telling this post CSS that you will have to do something with auto prefixing as well. So there are different plugins that are there, but right now in this default project, we are using these plugins, Tailwind CSS and auto prefixer. The next file is package.json, where the important things are dependencies. So the external libraries that we will be needing to create our project. These are the dependencies, and there will be one more section called dev dependencies, where we will be storing the dependencies that are required to build the project in development. And in here, these are the dependencies that are required to run the application in production. Then the script section is also very important. So when you want to execute any command, we basically use npm run dev, npm run build, npm run start, or npm run lint. And these are the actual commands that get executed. Okay, so when we execute npm run dev, it launches the application, but in the background, it is actually gonna execute this command next dev, and it is gonna use webpack behind the scene. But you can also use the turbo by passing the option dash dash turbo as well. The package dash log.json. So this file is also important and it needs to be in the git. Don't ignore this file. So this is required because it tells exact versions that are being used to build the application. So in package.json, we can specify the versions as well. But sometimes if you are not using the exact versions, package log.json, this is the file where it captures the exact versions of the dependencies that are being used to build the application, and that is why this package log.json, this is also important file. The next one is next config. So this file basically contains the configuration specific to the Next.js. Next file is git ignore. This file is used by git to ignore certain files. Those files will be ignored basically, and it will not be tracked by git. The next one is eslint rc.json. So this is again configuration file which is used by the eslint, and by default you will find this next slash core web vital, but this next slash babel, this is also required because otherwise you will get some warning. So I was getting the warning at next.config.js over here, and once I added this next slash babel over there in the array, that warning went away. So this particular configuration is required for the ESLint. So ESLint is basically gonna hint about specific rules that you might break while building the application, and then that way you will have proper coding standards and you will not mess up with the code. Next file is public, where you can store the public assets. So if you want like public can access those assets on your website. So if your website is say xyz.com and you want to access this next.svg file, they can just go to xyz.com/next.svg and they can access it. So there will not be any protection to these files. Anyone can access these files because they are in the public folder. The next one is a node model. So here all the models that you have installed for your project will be stored. Okay, and it is ignored by the Git. The next one is app. This is where our all the source files will be stored and it will not be accessible publicly. Here we have got page.tsx and layout.tsx. So page.tsx is the home page because right under the app directory we are creating this page.tsx, which is a special file. So this is how it knows that this is the home page, and here you can return any JSX expression. And there has to be one root layout in Next.js application. So layout is basically telling how the page is structured, and this is where you can add the navigation bar, header, footer, and main body content will come from the pages. So here children is basically nothing but the page that we are going to render. And here we are using this metadata. So metadata is again we can use to specify the title description for our page. And final file is .next. So here all the files that are created after compiling our project or building our project will be stored by the Next.js. And again you can see that this is ignored by the Git. So it is just the output file we can say. That's it. These are all the files and folders that are created by the Next.js command when we create a new project. Thank you for watching.